Small business war stories. Small businesses are the soul of America. And this is where they tell their stories. I am your host, Pablo Fuentes. Hey, lovers of small businesses and good stories in general. Welcome to episode 106 of Small Business War Stories. And today is an episode recorded at the Wizard Academy. What is the Wizard Academy, you ask yourself? Well, all the answers are in this podcast. And I sat down with the new Chancellor of the Wizard Academy, a great guy named Daniel Whittington. And I've taken a class there at the Wizard Academy. And actually, as this podcast airs, I will be in another class, their flagship class called The Magical Worlds of Communication. But it's kind of a counterculture business school where all kinds of folks, including, I've met a lot of fascinating small business folks from all over the country and the world at the Wizard Academy. And it's a school that helps you think about business in a slightly different way. They emphasize a lot of what it means to think about business with using the right side of your brain, the artistic side of your brain, and telling the story of your business. Fascinating episode. I learned a lot from Daniel and a lot of the things about how to position your story in a way that really speaks to your audience. And it's really hard to explain other than to listen to this podcast. So definitely stick around for this great episode. This podcast is brought to you by Proven. Proven.com is a company that I started. It is a small business hiring tool. So go check it out. Proven.com. It will help you hire for your small business. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode, recorded at the Tower of the Wizard Academy with Daniel Whittington, right outside of Austin, Texas. And we are live here in the Texas Hill Country. And today I have the pleasure and honor to sit down with Daniel Whittington, who is the Chancellor of the Wizard Academy.
Yes, it's a thing.
How does that feel? That's new, right?
Well, it's not official yet because Roy hasn't officially stepped down, but it's headed that direction.
Okay.
In the meantime, I prefer to think of myself as the bookkeeper.
The bookkeeper.
But it has to be said in hushed tones.
Right, got it. So it's a very unofficial, it's quote unquote the bookkeeper. It's kind of like the consigliere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Love it. That's awesome.
As a matter of fact, it's said that if you say the bookkeeper 3 times in front of a mirror, I show up wherever you are.
Holy wow! So we have listeners all over the world. Be careful. Be careful what you say in front of your mirror.
That's right.
So the Wizard Academy. We recorded an episode here with Ryan Dice, who's on the board here.
Right.
And it was a fantastic episode with lots of different tips for small businesses about digital marketing. And we kind of recapped the course that I took here about digital marketing.
Right.
And we talked about Character Diamond. But we're here to talk more about the Wizard Academy itself. And we are here in the Tower of the Wizard Academy, which adds an extra level of WTF to this. What is the Wizard Academy?
So the shortest version of this is that Wizard Academy is a school for entrepreneur-minded people that teaches them how to do what intuitive, artistic type business people do intuitively on purpose. It takes big ideas and brings them into actionable items in a very short amount of time, with the goal being that you make money from what you know, not just know things.
Yeah, so that's been a big theme in the podcast. Actually, a few weeks ago, we had Kara Pendle, who was Caracotta Ceramics, and we talked about how to turn your art into a business. And she is coming out with a book about how to make $100,000 in your first year as an artist. And this also came up with Dan Grissom from Biscuit Press. I don't know, he's an artist in Austin. I don't know if you know him. He's done a lot of.
No, I don't think I've met him.
He's done a lot of the art at radio coffee that's on the walls there. And we also talk about how do you turn your art into a vocation and a way to make money.
Right.
And you are also a former musician, touring musician.
Yeah, for 20 years, a studio and touring musician.
So you can relate to all of this.
Yeah, and I'm guessing, I'm hopefully saying the same things that they were, but essentially, you make money when what you're doing is not about you, it's about them, or when what you do is made in such a way that other people are able to make it a part of their story. If you can make what you do a part of someone else's story, then they'll be willing to give you money for the thing you do.
Tell me more. That is a great, that to me opens up a lot of questions. So tell me more. What does that mean? And maybe use specific examples.
Yeah, what it means to me is that, what's your cussing rule on this podcast?
You can cuss.
Okay.
There's an explicit tag, and this episode shall be tagged as explicit.
Okay, yeah, I'm bad at filtering those things. You may have to do bleeps or something. No one gives a shit about you, your stupid art, and your snowflake uniqueness.
Okay.
Right. Not really.
Okay.
And often, not even the people we love as much as we think.
Yeah, they'll tell you that it's wonderful.
What people care about is themselves and their story. And people spend money always to reinforce their own identity of who they are in the world. Coming down, from the socks you buy to the car you drive, you spend money to reinforce your self-identity and to announce to the world who you are. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's even true of the people who are like, well, I don't buy the brand name shit. Right? Buying your jeans at Costco is also a statement.
Or a Goodwill.
Right. That's also a statement about who you are and what you value, right?
Yeah.
So you spend your money on what you value. And you value things that reinforce your story. So the only time you're ever going to part with money is when you find with art especially, is when someone else's art becomes a part of your story.
Wow. That is a powerful statement.
Yeah. So as an artist, your goal is not to help everyone understand your vision. Bullshit. Right?
Okay.
Your goal as an artist is to create art that other people can identify with. Now, that sounds like you got to sell out and you got to create popular opinion stuff, but that's not necessarily true. What we will find always as people is that your experience in life is less unique than you think it is.
Okay.
And if you stay true to the parts of your story that are part of the human experience, you'll find a whole lot of people who have had the same experience.
Yeah.
Right? And so as an artist communicating your experience in the world as a human, you inevitably, if you do it clearly enough, you'll find people who go, yes, totally.
Finally.
Right? Someone who said the thing I've always been thinking. And so it is staying true to your interpretation of how the world works and your experience in the world, but it's not about you. Not really. And so many artists want to walk in and say, how do I get people to just understand?
So let's maybe, those words you're saying resonate powerfully for me on many different levels. Somebody who does business and as somebody who does art. I mean, I do, I play music, I build guitars, and I do film photography, and I make leather stuff. I have a full shop in my house. And I've always been afraid to sell my stuff, my photographs, and things like that. So what you're saying resonates powerfully. Can we maybe give a couple of examples? An example of let's just make up two artists.
Well, let's say your
personas.
guitars.
Yeah.
How about your guitars?
Okay.
So I'm definitely always in the market for guitars.
Okay.
Right. I own several guitars. I own a couple of custom ones. My wife has one handmade by a guy in San Luis Obispo, California. Mm-hmm. That's just a beautiful guitar, right? Now, as a performer, I'm not going to buy a guitar you made because of all the things went into it, right? If you picked a specific rosewood and you picked a specific back to accent the mid-low end without getting boomy, and you picked a specific front to bring out the sparkle and the highs by the bridge,
Yep.
right? You know all of those things. If you want to talk to me about that guitar, the worst thing you could do is talk about why you chose the wood and where you sourced the wood from and how, unless I'm simply a collector who wants the most rare thing, but then what just happened? It just became about the fact that buying the rarest material shit is a part of who I think I am, right? Mm-hmm. Now, as a musician, what I'm going to know is, look, I need a guitar. I keep going to all these big brands. I go to a Taylor, and Taylor's really rich and low, or actually are the way around.
Sparkly, yeah.
It's very sparkly, but it's got a thin
glass,
low
it's
end.
a glass of lemon juice.
Right, and then I go to Martin, and the classic Dreadnought Martin has this rich, boomy, but it's not a lot of sparkle, right? I want something in the middle, and you go, well, I can create a guitar with all of these things that brings in that low, rich Martin, but with a sparkle Taylor, right? And I'm going to customize all these things. Now I give a shit about the guitar you just made, right? Because I'm looking for a studio guitar that has a breadth of everything and doesn't have to be constantly fixed in post, right? Okay. So making guitars becomes a part of your story. When we're talking about whiskey and I'm selling a bottle of whiskey from my distillery,
Yep.
right? No one gives a crap about all the hard work that went into it, how long it took me to build a distillery, what stills we chose to use, except the people who it means something to them that they know those things, the true nerds, right? The top 10% of the category, they want to know all the details.
Sure.
Makes them feel better, right? And I'm in that top 10%. But the vast majority of my consumers just want to know, is this a good whiskey? Does it hit all the markers that if I drink it, it means I'm drinking real whiskey? And do I like it?
Right.
That's it. I'm going to waste a crap ton of time trying to talk about all the minutia of how I made the whiskey. It's only going to apply to the top 5-10% of my customers. Or I can simply talk about who this whiskey's for and bourbon and the culture of whiskey drinking and the things that matter to me in the culture of whiskey, and people who identify with my worldview of the culture of whiskey will support that worldview by buying my whiskey. It has a lot less to do with what the whiskey tastes like, right?
Interesting.
Right? I mean, people will buy Lagavulin because they know Ron Swanson loved it on Parks and Rec.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
And they'll learn to love it because a manly man on the show loved it. And that means something,
And then
right?
their brain associates that, and that means that flavor all of a sudden becomes manly and great.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's just self-identity.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to teach at the Wizard Academy, we do a class every 3 or 4 years on teaching artists how to market. And it's essentially the main point of the whole course is, look, if you want to sell the things that you're doing, and the same thing is true of business, right? The worst thing a business owner could say is, I just need to educate the consumer. If you ever hear somebody as a business owner say, we just need to educate the consumer, then you are in a losing battle. You either need to get out of that relationship as fast as possible, because as a marketer, you're never going to please that business owner, right? They want to educate, and no one ever wants to be educated,
Right.
right? Roy always said with diamond retailers are the worst at that. He said, we just need to, if we can just educate the consumer on the 4 C's of color, cut, clarity, and carat weight, right? Then everyone would understand why our diamonds are better than everyone else's diamonds, and why we actually care, and we're not trying to cheat you and rob you, But no consumer ever woke up, rubbed their eyes, and said, if I only understood the 4 C's of color, cut, clarity, and carat weight, my life would be complete.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's interesting. So you brought up Roy a couple of times. So for our audience's benefit, Roy Williams
He is
the founder of the Wizard
Yeah.
Academy, and he made he basically made his name as a radio advertising copywriter.
Well, no. So he made his name as an advertiser, period.
Right.
Probably the highest paid ad writer on the planet, still to this day. He has a heavy focus on radio.
Yep.
But it's not because he's a radio ad writer.
Okay.
Right.
But that's how he started, because he started.
He
quite a
started
while
in
ago.
radio.
Right.
As far as like working at a
In
radio
Tulsa,
station.
Right.
And so he understood that really well. But as the medium has demanded changes, he's moved on to TV and print and billboard and you name it, because medium is far less important than message.
Sure.
You have the right message, any medium will work.
So the Wizard Academy is in a lot about learning how to craft that message in a way that it fits the story of whoever it's intended to reach, as opposed to you pushing out whatever you think is important about your product.
Yeah, I guess what we say is there's always a mistake. There's 2 mistakes that most marketers make. One is to think that people really give a crap about you when they don't, and that they give a crap about your thing that you're doing to the level that you do, which they don't. And the second thing is to think that if you just reach your target market, everything's going to be okay. And the way to success is to get narrower and narrower and narrower on your perfect customer, and then find them. And we think that that's a waste of time and energy. We think that all of the energy should be spent in crafting the right message. And if you have the right message, your people will find you. And inevitably...
Okay, I'm a little confused now. So because we were talking... Let's clarify that, because I think there's something powerful in there. So you were talking initially about making sure that we're not unique snowflakes. There are other people like you.
Right.
And so in some ways you are trying to find those people, but you're not trying to find those people.
Well, you don't find those people through targeting and medium.
Okay.
Right? You don't go onto Facebook and click every possible narrowed thing until you find left-handed people with brown hair and blue eyes who live somewhere in the Midwest or age between 18 and 37 and drive a Nissan.
Yeah.
Right? That's the direction that you take when you start trying to target customers and find your target customer. You inevitably get narrower and narrower and narrower, and you spend all your energy on finding the right person, and you forget that what you have to say is far more important. And then what you say to those people becomes an afterthought. And even if you find those people, which is almost impossible, if you haven't spent any time focused on what you have to say to them,
right,
then what's the point? Say you spend, say you really wanted to meet, Steve Jobs back in the day. If you spent your whole life trying to get to meet him and finally made it, but hadn't thought about what you wanted to say to Steve Jobs, that'd be a huge mistake.
That would be a mistake.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's inevitably what advertisers do. They spend all their effort on finding the people. They spend none of their time on effort on what they have to say.
Okay. So a lot of what you learn here is about crafting that message.
Yeah. What do you have to say?
Okay.
What is it you're trying to do? Why should anyone give a shit?
Yeah.
Right? And how is it going to change their life?
So a lot of small business owners, not only artists, but small business owners attend here.
Mm-hmm.
In the class that I came, in the class where I attended, there were many business owners who'd been here many times. Repeated, and people from all over. I mean, we're here right outside of Austin, but these are people who came from Wichita, from Seattle.
Yeah, Canada.
Yeah, far and wide. What are some of the tactics? I mean, you obviously, so a lot of what you're talking about here is what's covered in your kind of flagship class, right? The Magical Worlds of Communication.
Right.
So staying within the confines of a podcast that's not a 3-day class, right. What are some maybe tactical things that you can help people with in order for them to help craft their message to find that audience?
Oh man, that's tough. How do you narrow a 3-day class into a 10-minute pitch?
Yeah.
I think the shortest version of any kind of advertising and messaging is if you say what people expected you to say, or in a way they expected to hear it, then you will be invisible. Period. We have a part of our brains that is trained to ignore things we expect. You ever leave work, go home, and not remember the drive?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay, so that's happened to everybody who's driven, right?
Yeah.
You pull in and you think, holy crap, I think I just drove 20 minutes through town and I have no memory of any of the intersections or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I didn't get in a wreck, right?
Yeah.
Now, that is called bad driving, right? But that's also called your brain working exactly like it's supposed to. Your brain is trained to ignore things that it expects to see so that it can be prepared for the unexpected.
Okay.
Right? And it will only pay attention when something it doesn't expect to see forces the attention. Right? Now, does that mean that every car pulled up to the light at exactly the same way as it did yesterday in the same order? No, things changed on that drive home, right? But everything you saw was something your brain expected to see, and so it kept it sort of running in the background, right? In advertising, if you're listening to the radio or you're watching TV, if the ad begins to do the thing that you know ads always do, it's instantly invisible. Right? If you're listening to the radio and it goes to the commercial and it says, hey, this is truck so-and-so at, so-and-so Bird Ford. And we would like to, now that's gone. You're not going to remember anything he said.
Yeah.
Right?
Because you've heard
You've heard that pitch before.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, we love to do your plumbing. No plumber works at plumbing like we. All the other plumbers are trying to screw you. At so-and-so plumbing, we actually care about our customers. Blah, 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 blah. Right? It's what they expected to hear, delivered the way they expected to hear it. As an advertiser, you need to do something in a way that people didn't expect it, but that stays relevant to their story, right? If you just do something unexpected, that's called clickbait, right? A title that's so weird you feel like you need to see what it's about.
Yeah.
But then once they start paying attention, you can't deliver, then it's clickbait. You click through, you find out it's bullshit. Before digital clickbait, it was those magazines like the Enquirer, in the checkout stands. You know, 3-headed wolf baby found in Nebraska.
Yeah.
And you open it up and it's like, oh, this is bullshit.
JFK
right?
is seen in a diner in Omaha.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. That's clickbait. Right. Now, did it get the attention? Absolutely. That's why they're stuck there. But does it deliver? Absolutely not.
What?
Right? So just
hold on, I gotta cancel my subscription.
You're really to National Enquirer.
Yeah.
You, as an advertiser, you can't just surprise.
Yeah.
You can't just go, hey, boo, and jump out of the bushes, right? You then also have to deliver with something that matters.
Okay.
You have to be relevant to the needs, right?
Sure.
And then it has to be timely in the sense that it has to be something that they might need to act on, or that at some point, if they're going to need to act on. There's two kinds of campaigns. There's the effectively direct response, which is I'm trying to address a need right now that someone, if they have this need, will respond to right now. That's HVAC. Hey, it's February or March. We're getting into spring, and that means we're about to transition from your heating system to your air conditioning system, right? Have you had your air conditioning system checked out so that when it turns on, you don't find out it doesn't work on the first 90-degree day, right?
Okay.
We can offer you a $70 8-point check, and to make sure that when that AC clicks on, it works great. And if we find anything that needs to be repaired, your $70 are going to go towards the price of your repair.
Okay.
That's a direct response radio ad, right?
Right.
And it's kind of boring, but it's a direct response radio ad. It's right now, action item. Branding ads have nothing to do with a direct call to action. They have to do with who you are, what you give a shit about, and why anyone should care, and why you are our people, or why we are your people, and then end, right? Direct branding works is the only way to do advertising with long purchase cycle products, cars, well, really appliances. Right. Anything that needs to be done again tomorrow is not a long purchase cycle. Those are really hard to advertise for.
Okay.
Because you need direct action, and it's like hitting a vein one too often. You can only do the same trick so often it stops working. You got to switch it up. But you can do a really beautiful long-term branding campaign on a car, right? Because someone's only going to buy one every 2 to 5 years or 10 years, right? And at that point, what you want to be is the kind of person that people think of when they're ready to buy.
Okay.
Right? When they're finally ready, they're going to think of you. And you only do that if every time you talk, they've heard you, because you didn't say the same thing that they've heard said all the time. As a matter of fact, right now, if I need to go buy a car, I've probably heard 4 car dealership ads in the last 2 weeks listening to, KGSR or something.
Sure.
Right? I have no memory of any of them.
So you wouldn't remember?
I wouldn't remember. Oh, I need to go buy a truck.
You don't think subconsciously you remember?
No, I think that's bullshit.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay.
I mean, if you do, they're subconsciously in the category of like every car dealer.
Sure.
Have you heard of car radio ads? Yeah, somewhere back there. I know I've heard some. Can I remember them right now? No. Can I think of their name? No. So it didn't work. What that means is I'm going to go on Google and search for car dealerships. And if you're trying to win that battle, you're already screwed. If you're trying to win the first click through from Google, it's too late now. That's a losing battle. There are people with a lot more money than you fighting that war.
Yeah.
Right? So you need to be the person that when they think, I need a car, and I have that person, by the way. There's a dealership in Austin that when I think I need a car, my first thought is this place.
Why?
And it's because they were recommended to me by somebody I cared about. And when I went to them, every interaction I had with them broke every rule of car dealerships, and it was so ingrained in my mind. I told 50 people about them in the last 2 or 3 years.
What was the interaction?
The first thing is they don't operate on. They do lowest possible price on every car, no negotiation. Right, and so there's just here's the price of the car. Feel free to look it up online. Feel free to Google it. Here's some computers you can use. You will not find this car anywhere lower than this, and we don't do price negotiations at all. You write a check for this, or you find a car somewhere else. And that's because we go to the lowest possible number. And I bought 5 cars from them over the last 10 years. I've never bought a car for more from them than I could have got it from anywhere else. They really do go to the lowest one. They also said, look, by the way, every car you buy with us, no matter what price, no matter what car, comes with a lifetime powertrain warranty from our location, and our mechanics will fix it. Doesn't matter the car, we'll repair it. I'm like, well, crap.
Even a used car.
Used car. They're all used. It's all used cars, no new cars. Right? They only specialize in higher-end used cars.
Wow.
That's it. And so any salesperson can work with you. No one's negotiating. No one's trying to give you the hard sell. They're simply saying, do you like this car? Here's the price.
No, I got to go talk to my manager, sit you there for 20 minutes.
No, bullshit.
Man,
that's it.
Yeah.
And then when I got to the place where I'm doing the finance thing with the guy, because we decided to use our credit union, the guy who ran through the finance stuff was like, well, your credit union's giving you a great rate, so there's really no need to go through any of our people if you like that credit union. Well, thanks. And he's like, there's some things we can add on to this if you want. Here's their value, and here's where they won't be valuable. If you do this, you've ever had this happen in your cars before, you might want to do it on this one. If you've owned cars, you're, 38? I'm like, yeah. He's like, then, and you've never had this problem, then don't worry about this package. You're not the kind of driver this applies to. But he just kind of went through all the true.
Do they do any advertising?
I'm sure they do. I've never seen it.
Okay. Interesting.
But the whole point of that is they did things, they broke patterns.
Yeah.
Now, in their advertising, if I heard it, I'm betting it sucks. Because most advertising sucks. Right? Most advertising is not written to convince. It's written to not offend. That's most advertising. It's written to not offend. It's not written in order to move the needle. The kind of advertising that is powerful enough, or the kind of message that's powerful enough to move the needle on the who gives a shit meter, right, is guaranteed to move some people in the wrong direction. This is what we teach at Wizard Academy.
Interesting.
Right?
Can you give an example of that?
What's a good one? In whiskey, we have this speech. The best whiskey is the whiskey you like. The definition of good whiskey is the whiskey you like to drink. And the right way to drink it is however the fuck you want.
Right.
Right. Now, that is a siren song for all the people who view whiskey and culture the way that we do. Which is, dude, drink whatever you want. Yeah. Put it on ice, put it on water, drink it with Coke. Who gives a shit?
Have a good time, yeah.
Don't care. Take a $100 bottle of whiskey and pour it on Coke and ice. If you like it, then that is good whiskey for you. And if you're willing to part with your $100 for that drink, then by all means, do that thing.
Yeah.
Right? Now, there's a whole culture of snobs who will have emotional meltdowns over situations like that.
I can't believe you put Coca-Cola on that.
Or I can't believe you poured it on ice, or screw you, you don't understand good whiskey. Oh, you drink blended Johnny Walker? You idiot. Right? Oh, you're willing to spend extra money on that stupid branded Game of Thrones bottle? You moron. Right? Those people will be outraged by our statement that there's no definition of good whiskey but whiskey you like. Right? They'll be like, no, bullshit. That's not true. There is bad whiskey. Like, no, you're talking about a subjective reality, my friend.
Yeah.
You can't have an objective opinion about a subjective reality. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
Right? That if we start promoting that message, there are some people who are going to write us off right out of the gates.
And what would be so that I understand how that's the right way to do it, because you're alienating people who would be the whiskey snobs. Now, you could actually take the complete opposite approach, saying we are the whiskey snobs.
Absolutely.
Or the only right way to drink the whiskey is like, here's a prescribed way to drink each one of these.
And you're going to have a really small market.
Yeah, and you would alienate a lot of other people. But that could be fine.
But that's 5% of the market.
Sure,
if you can make a living catering to only the 5% of nerds, that's fine.
Yeah, there's a God bless.
That campus,
that you can still make that choice.
That's how it works, and that's absolutely a choice.
What would be the wrong way? What would be a way in which you basically are not alienating people of doing whiskey marketing?
It's not possible. Lying about what you're doing is really the worst thing that you could do, because then anybody, one way or the other, is gonna hate you.
Okay.
Right? If you say we're this amazing thing, but you're sourcing, blending, and doing shitty stuff to create this product, or you claim your product is what it isn't, then you're gonna just screw everybody. Right? But there's no wrong way to market as long as you in those ways, as long as you're not invisible.
Okay.
Right? And in that sense, the wrong way to market is to say what everyone says. Oh, we take the greatest care in our whiskey. Oh, we handcraft every part of the process. Oh, we care only about quality. Oh, bullshit. That's what every single distillery on the planet says. We care about quality. We care about process. We care about terroir.
Okay.
And we care about our customers. Give me a distillery that says they don't care about their customers.
Yeah.
They don't care about quality.
Okay, so we kind of switched there a little bit from the whiskey channel.
But that's the wrong way, right?
Okay, right.
That's the wrong way to market, is to say what
and
everybody's
what is the
saying.
right way to market an individual whiskey?
Same thing. Has it become a part of the story?
Right.
That's all it is. What's the story? Tell me the story about this whiskey, right? Don't tell me about the process that everyone does and how you care about it like everybody else does, even though you're trying to say you care more.
Yeah.
Bullshit, right? Tell me what the story is behind this whiskey,
Okay.
right? Tell me why I should care about what you're doing. Or crap, tell me.
But interesting. So because for some reason, like it must be, I mean, reflexively, the first thing that comes to mind when you say that is you do talk about the process of how you make it and your family and all that.
Maybe, but not if it's the same process everyone does. Oh, we pot still 3 times distilled. No one gives a fuck about that. Not really.
So what's
the top 5% care about that?
What's an example then of a way of somebody who does really good whiskey marketing?
Oh man, off the top of my head, it's hard to pick. There's so many good ones. Jameson does an amazing job. Tullamore Dew does an amazing. Irish do a great job of advertising their whiskeys.
Okay. Conor McGregor's whiskey. Same way.
Yeah, he does. No, that was shitty marketing.
Really?
He sold a lot because all the Conor McGregor fans were like, "Oh, you have a whiskey we can buy." That's vanity branding. That's not good advertising. That's just coattail marketing.
Okay.
Right? It's like when David Beckham sold his Hague blended scotch.
But going back to your way to enjoy your whiskey is the best way to enjoy your whiskey. Maybe for those fans, that's that, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying it's not a good example of marketing.
Got it.
Did it sell? Yeah, fine. It's a good example of making money.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's a good example of marketing.
Okay.
I mean, it's a good marketing decision, an easy way to make money. Find somebody famous, have them be behind your product.
Yeah.
Yes. Will you make money? Absolutely.
Yeah.
No question. So is that a smart move? Sure. Yeah. Is it an example of brilliant advertising? No, it's easy.
Okay.
It's
so
easy,
what do the other Irish whiskeys do well?
So Jameson loves to tell the story of magical thinking. You know, this is John Jameson. He stopped a train with his bare hands. He single-handedly conquered the Prussian invasion of 1834, which is why you've never heard of the Prussian invasion of 1834. It's in beer. It's what's his name? The most interesting.
The most interesting man in the world.
Yeah,
Dos
right.
Equis, yeah.
It's just all of a sudden you're like, crap. I kind of want a Dos Equis, even though I know that's stupid. Even though they didn't ever mention the beer.
Yeah.
Right? I don't always drink beer, but when I do, it's a Dos Equis, right? Is that true? No. Everyone knows it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But by being ridiculous, it lets you click off the part of your brain that cares about truth and reality, right? And it gets into the image of things, right?
So this is in a nutshell with what the 3-day magical worlds of communication course is.
Yeah, just stop being boring. That's the shortest. Stop being boring and communicate clearly.
Okay.
That's it.
And that's your flagship course. Now, getting back a little bit to the Wizard Academy, you have here, how many classes do you offer per year?
We tend to do around 30 to 40 a year.
Wow.
Each one is 2 to 3 days, and they're usually during the week. You stay on campus during class, so you check into the room on campus before you get in, and you stay on campus till the class is over and go home.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful property here. How many acres are we in?
Around 25 acres total.
Yeah, and it's about 20 minutes out of Austin,
yeah,
depending on traffic.
Yeah, about 30 minutes from the airport.
Okay. So it's very easy. Most people just fly into the Austin airport and come out here.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like you're in the city, though. It feels like
no, it's far enough out that there's nothing but hill country and some neighborhoods in the distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's a very non-traditional learning environment. So when you're here in a class, you guys talk a lot about purple coffee.
We open up the wine about 8:30 in the morning during class.
Yeah, which is an interesting choice. You want to talk about that?
Well, think about everything that I've just said.
Yeah.
Right? If you come to a place to learn how to say things in a way people don't normally say them,
right,
and to communicate surprise and delight, then wouldn't it be ridiculous if we taught it the same way everybody teaches everything?
Sure.
Right? I mean, there's a category in your brain reserved for marketing and conference things. right? And it usually is Santa Fe Ballroom, Southwest, number 4.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
4 sub-level basements below the main
Yep.
check-in, right, registration. And you got the accordion doors, you
Yep.
know, they're not all the way closed. You got shitty food in the back that
Yeah.
you're going to eat at lunch, but it's put out at 8 a.m.
Not enough bathrooms.
Yeah, not enough bathrooms, no Wi-Fi because
Yeah.
you didn't check in. You didn't stay at that hotel.
Yep.
Right? You didn't sign up early enough to get the group by.
Yep.
And then someone goes to the front and they're like, hello, we got a lot to cover today. Let's go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
And you're never going to get anything from that.
Yeah.
Right? So we try to at every step of the day, by the hour, keep things moving and shifting in such a way that you are always forced to pay attention, that things are always grabbing your attention, that the momentum is always ebbing and flowing and changing. And that's why they're exhausting classes.
Yeah.
Because you never get a chance to relax.
Yeah, and then you go home, and home here is you have the on campus.
Yeah, you go back to your room
facilities, and you take a nap and
Yeah, crash out.
hopefully process all this stuff. That's what Roy told me. He's like,
Yeah.
just go sleep.
You need sleep.
You will learn it at night when you're asleep.
Yeah, that's when your brain. That's when the left side of your brain, the logic must make reason from this. It goes to sleep, but your right pattern part of your brain doesn't. And all of the patterns that were introduced into your brain during the day, they start being fitted in like puzzle pieces. And that's why you can wake up going, oh, I know exactly what I need to do. Because your brain solved that problem for you while you were sleeping.
That makes sense. There are a lot of Don Quixote references in this place. And by a lot, I mean, when you walk in here, I don't know, dozens, maybe.
Well, it's the largest collection of Don Quixote art and statue work I think in North America, maybe on the planet.
Wow.
It's because there was a quote that was, "Show me what a man admires, and I'll tell you everything that you need to know about him."
Mm.
And so for us, that is displayed in our art, among other things, right?
Okay.
Our statues, our paintings, the sculptures, they all are references to things that we think matter that should be clues into what we care about. And we view in Don Quixote that ridiculous soul of the adventurer, which we think is a perfect analogy for the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Damn the odds. I'm going to do this crazy thing, even if everyone around me thinks I'm crazy. Those are not windmills. Those are dragons.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Yeah.
And
that's kind of this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy adventuring.
Okay. Very cool. So that's a lot of symbolism. And you have a chapel on site too.
Right. That was the first thing we built, and it's Chapel Dulcinea. We donated that to the community before we built the tower. Sort of from the give from the lack, not the plenty, first fruits sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So before we even started building the school, we were already doing free weddings at that chapel.
So people can get married for free.
We do 1,000 weddings a year there for free.
Sweet. Jeez. How long is the waiting list?
We book up about 6 months to a year in advance.
Oh, it's not that much. I would have thought it was more than that.
Yeah. Well, when you have 6 wedding slots a day,
is that what
fit
it
in
is?
a lot of weddings, right?
Wow.
You get an hour and a half.
And then people can come in and get married.
Right.
And
they can do the reception here if it's a small group, or they can get married and then head off site. It's up to them. All kinds.
That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And you also, this is very interesting. So we have 25 acres. We have a chapel with weddings.
Right.
We have here a tower with learnings, and you have a distillery on site.
Well, so the campus is split into 2.
Okay.
Half of it is the nonprofit. That's Wizard Academy.
Mm-hmm.
The other half is for-profit. On the for-profit is the Welcome Center, Roy's Marketing Office, Tuscan Hall Wedding Event Center, and my distillery.
Okay.
And that's on the for-profit front of the property.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I mean, we've covered whiskey. I was going to ask you about your whiskey channel, but we've covered whiskey quite a bit. So tell me. I mean, we can talk a little bit about it. So you have applied all of the things that you. How long have you been associated with Wizard Academy?
About 5.5 years.
5.5 years.
Yeah.
And in the time you've been here, you have launched a very successful whiskey channel. If you want to plug it, what is it? Where can
it's
people
the
find
Whiskey Vault. There's
Vault.
2 channels: the Whiskey Vault and the Whiskey Tribe. And we started a group out of the videos called the Whiskey Tribe. It now has all these different channels on Facebook and Reddit and this whole newsletter community, a whole community of anti-snob whiskey drinkers.
Okay.
We started that channel originally as a resource for the whiskey sommelier school that we founded here. And it sort of got out of control. More people started following it than we expected. We started interacting with them. They took it to the next level, and now our two channels are the first and third largest YouTube channels on YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's
That's
crazy.
no small feat.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Now, it's a small category, right? I think we're at 100, and we're climbing in on 160,000 subscribers right now. And that's small potatoes as far as big YouTubers go.
Right.
But the whiskey community is a niche community inside of YouTube, so that was enough to catapult us to the top of that pile.
And you used all the things, all the principles.
Yeah, we
of the
literally
things.
used the distillery and that YouTube channel as a test case to apply all the things we teach to see what would happen.
Wow.
And it worked.
That's amazing.
Shocking.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Can you think of a time when things were really wrong here?
Not since I got here,
Okay.
thank God. There's been little moments that were rough and not fun, but nothing truly catastrophic.
Okay.
I've heard the stories of right before I got here, about 2-3 years, I think, before I got here, Roy was in the middle of teaching magical worlds. And he was on the morning of day 2, about to go in to teach day 2, when he discovered that the bookkeeper had embezzled several $1 million. And the IRS was about to back up trucks and cart away all of the belongings on the property
That's nice.
to pay back taxes. Yeah, that was an interesting morning.
That's a good one.
Right.
I should have Roy on the show to tell me that story.
Yeah, so that was crazy.
Yeah.
He went ahead and taught the rest of class, and we're still here, which tells you we had several major donors who really believed in the school step up and say, we have your back, cover your debts, figure out what you need, we'll take care of you until you can get this thing figured out.
Yeah.
And that's when Roy started going onto the road, speaking a lot more, using that money to rebuild and pay back things, and the donors stepped in. We even had the bank kind of have our back. The bank, the president of the bank, who is a friend of ours, actually said, look, write checks as you need to cover things. I'll make sure they don't bounce.
Wow.
Until you get back on your feet.
That's a special relationship.
That's a good relationship.
And the money just disappeared in a cigarette boat out to in Miami with.
No, she actually stuck around and got arrested.
Oh, okay.
Crazy enough, and
All right.
she spent the money on insane things, like a massive Beanie Baby collection.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
I mean, it was crazy. So that was pretty catastrophic, and for a moment, it looked like we were never going to make it. But all the work that had been put into this place becoming a family and a community, that's when that paid off. If all we'd ever been doing is trying to become popular and cool and hit people up for money until they worked with us and then kick them to the curb, then we would have been screwed on that day.
Yeah.
But we have a whole community of alumni who view us as home turf and family. And those people have our back. And
Yeah.
so they've kept us.
Yeah, no, I feel. I mean, I've only done one class here. I'm doing Magical Worlds in a little bit here. But yeah, it feels good here. I my pin. I need a new pin, by the way. The little top came off.
Take one
of it.
before you leave.
Okay, very cool. And who are the right kind of people that should come here? And I've heard you before talk about the kind of people who shouldn't come here.
Yeah, it's easier to talk about that because I think I'll never be the good judge of who should be here.
Yeah.
Because who falls in love with this place and benefits, it always surprises me. It's sometimes it's the people you would imagine. Sometimes it's people you would never have imagined
Really?
would take ownership, and they find value and they do things you never would have imagined with what you taught.
Okay.
And I mean, so I think there's no limit to the things people can do with what we teach. It's their own imagination. And I mean, they do things that, my God, I couldn't have predicted, but is brilliant.
Yeah.
Right? The people who shouldn't be here are the people looking for the new, cool, shiny object shit. We will never do that. We believe that the whole world is patterns, and that while the methods in which you do things might change, the point and the message and the human condition behind why they work never change.
Okay.
Right? And we are focused on those things. We're focused on more of the human condition and less on the current delivery mechanisms. Right? So if you're obsessed with always being on top of the newest, coolest current delivery mechanism, you should not be here.
Mm-hmm.
2, if you're looking for a shortcut, you definitely should not be here. We believe that anything worth doing takes the long, hard slog, and that the right thing takes repetition, even when it's not sexy and no longer fun.
Mm-hmm.
And if that doesn't sound cool to you, then you definitely should not be here. You have to be willing to work hard and do things over and over when no one's looking until they work.
Yeah. I can relate with this podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, it's taken off and it's got a growing sizable audience, but it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of 12,000 miles of going around interviewing people.
How many times have you heard the stories of the band? What does it feel like to finally have had a hit?
Yeah.
Or finally have made it, and
Yeah.
the band has been touring for 15 years.
Yeah.
And they're like, well.
That's funny. What's the craziest thing you've seen? I mean, you must have seen some crazy stuff.
Funny enough, it has nothing to do with the classes. There's been a lot of really amazing people teaching things, and but the funnest things was we've had 2 magicians, world-class magicians,
Yeah.
come and hang out with us during our reunions.
Yeah, Nate Staniforth.
Yeah, Nate
I was here-
Staniforth
I
was the
here for
most
that.
recent one.
Mhm.
And before that, Brian Brushwood, who's a really good friend of Nate Staniforth, and
Okay.
Brian is now an instructor at Wizard Academy.
Mhm.
Both of their things were the craziest things I've ever seen happen inside the tower.
Well,
Their
I was.
magic shows.
He brought me up. I
He
was
did
the
bring you
guy. Oh man, that was wild. My face must have been crazy.
That probably tops the bar for the craziest incidents that I've seen inside this tower.
When he brought me on stage.
Oh, all of them. His whole
yeah.
performance.
Yeah, his whole performance. Nate Staniforth is a outstanding magician. I mean, I finished his book.
Yeah,
that
it's a
he
great
did.
book.
This
is Real Magic.
This is Real Magic,
Yeah.
which details his journey to India.
I have a copy right here.
Yeah. I finished it, and it's really amazing. I mean, it's really ultimately a book about awareness. It's kind of a Zen Buddhism book hidden as a autobiographical
It can be
magic
shortened
book.
to pay attention.
Yeah. 200 pages worth of that, but some really cool stories in there of his journeys in India and like what it's like to be a magician. But yeah, he's spectacular. I mean, you can't even explain. Like, just go to YouTube and search for his lottery number. Trick.
Nate Staniforth lottery trick.
That's kind of his signature trick.
Yeah.
Very cool. You've covered a lot of advice, but before we sign off, what would you say is the number one piece of advice you would give to somebody who's starting? We have a big audience of people that want to start a small business, who are already running their small business. What would you say is your number one piece of advice?
I'm going to pick one thing. There's so many things I could go with on that, but I'm going to pick one thing, which is something that I learned when I got to Wizard Academy. I'd spent 20 years as a studio and touring musician, and I got here to take over as vice chancellor thinking, what the hell am I going to have to offer to a bunch of business people?
Sure.
In a business world I've never lived in.
Yep.
Now, I'd had businesses and things inside the music industry, but I'd never started a small business in the normal world, outside of music. And so I thought, well, what do I have to offer? And it took me the first couple of years to realize everything I had learned in music was a direct application to everything we were teaching, right? Everything we taught at Wizard Academy, I had direct application experience in from my 20 years. So what I would say is, don't think that your knowledge is a silo. Understand that all life is patterns, and everything that's brought you to right now are patterns that you can draw on. And we always make the mistake of underselling our own knowledge, thinking that, I know a whole lot about this thing, but that won't apply over here because I don't understand marketing, right? And it's bullshit. You know way more than you think you know if you simply trust that all of the things that have happened to you and that you've done and the things you've learned to become good at, that those patterns apply to way more than just the category in which you did them. And trust your instincts on that.
That's awesome. I mean, wow, that's some powerful stuff. Do you have online content that people can come find about the Wizard Academy?
Yeah, if you want to find out about attending an actual class in person, you can head to wizardacademy.org.
Okay.
We have an online education platform called American Small Business Institute.org. We're rebuilding that entirely, and right now it's still going right now.
Yep.
There's new content every week, and there's different memberships to that, but we're going to be relaunching that here pretty soon with a whole new branding concept and a whole bunch of new amazing content.
Can you share what that's going to be called?
So Roy is currently building a ad writing certification course that will take at least 2 years to complete.
Wow.
And we're going to do it, and it will require in-person and online interaction and actual testing and actual grading and analysis of ad writing. It's going to be one of the most in-depth ad writing courses you've ever heard of in your life.
And that's going to replace the Small Business Institute?
That's going to be launched on the American Small Business Institute.org along with all the other content we have.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think all of the things you guys teach here and do here are very much aligned with the purpose of this podcast and everything that we do. I mean, for me, a big part of what I do is connecting people all over the country that do things that are much more similar than they would have previously thought, and people whom you have never would have met, like learning from those people, right? And
right.
Disseminating that. So thank you so much. Are there any other channels or any other things that you want to direct people to if they're interested in any of the things you guys do?
No, those are the two easiest ones. If you want to watch a couple of knuckleheads talk about whiskey for fun, then you can check out the Whiskey Vault on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well,
cheers.
Daniel Whittington,
sir,
in the Wizard Academy Tower, much appreciated. And thank you for sharing all your knowledge. And I'll be seeing you here shortly for
sir.
Magical Worlds Communication.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Small Business War Stories. Small businesses are the soul of America. And this is where they tell their stories. I am your host, Pablo Fuentes.